guys, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited for today's video. I have 10 winter holiday palettes that I will be pulling out and I'm inspired by this winter season. And then I have 3 additional holiday palettes that give like all the sparkly, glitzy, glammy vibes that I will also be sharing in today's video. So 13 palettes in total. If you're interested, stay tuned. First, if you have yet to subscribe to my channel and you like project painting content, palette themed content, or just chit-chatting about makeup, I'd love if you'd consider subscribing before moving on. And other than that, let's jump into the video. All right, guys, the sun is pretty much all but set, which I always think makes my lighting kind of interesting. So I'm looking really dark. I apologize, and my hair is like meh. Thought about putting hoop earrings on to like add a little something, and then I was like, I don't feel like it. Okay, I'm gonna start with my winter like palettes I'm inspired by throughout the winter season, and I have 2 palettes that are more warm toned, and then we'll get into like my cool toned palettes, because I feel like winter, I think of a lot of cool tones as it matches the very frigid cold weather outside. But I'm super excited to reach for the ABH Cosmos palette this winter time. I don't know, there's something about this palette that seasonally I feel like is relevant kind of all year round, but I feel like it's like this navy blue and like this blue right here, also the shade Supernova, that are really giving me winter vibes. I also, even though I'm more cool toned in like my actual complexion when I'm not self-tan, which by the way I have color guard on right now, I feel like I like more of like a neutral or a warm brown shadow. So this is something I anticipate I will be reaching for this winter season. I also really like mauve tones. Not that there's like mauves in here, but this is more of like a deep burgundy shade or a deep purple. And I do like purples as well in the winter time. And then for some reason, I just like think of the holidays when I look into this palette. I don't know if I've like worn this palette specifically to holiday parties in the past, and that's why I kind of associate the holidays with my Natasha Denona Gold palette. Also, golds around the holidays are just great, right? But I absolutely love and adore this palette. I mean, this is another palette that just like makes sense seasonally, like all year round, but I'm just feeling very inspired by it this winter. There's golds, there's blues, and overall it's just a very beautiful palette. Okay, released, I have 3 Pat McGrath palettes actually. I'm gonna go Pat McGrath next. 3 that I'm like feeling inspired by for the winter. So I feel like this is kind of like the natural winter palette. It kind of just looks blah, bland, and dismal, similar to winter weather. But on the eyes, this is actually so beautiful. I've done some really fun looks with this palette and have really enjoyed every time that I have reached for this. I really like these 3 shades right here. I think that for like fun pops of blue, I just absolutely adore them. And I really like this cool toned matte shade as well. So I'll be reaching for this winter time. I also grabbed, you know what, I also could have grabbed Moonlit Seduction, because for like, ooh, I feel like I should grab that for like a 4th holiday palette. I'm gonna do that. Okay, so we'll talk about that one in a little bit. But next palette I have is this one right here. I believe this is the Divine Rose palette. I said I like purples and mauves in the winter time. This is something I also just haven't reached for a lot in its lifetime, so I'm really wanting to get use out of it this winter. I think this silver shade kind of reminds me of like a silver sparkly ornament. So hoping to get some use out of this palette in the winter. And then as I was opening up all my palettes, picking out what was, you know, inspiring me for the winter time, this one, which this is the MMXVII. No. This is crazy. MMXVII is also on this palette. Is it on every palette? Yeah, okay. Well, I don't know what this palette is. I think it might be like the new, like these all give kind of like mauve-y sort of feelings, and then I feel like the pop of green just makes me think of holiday. So this is another one that just I have not reached for a lot in its lifetime, so I would like to get some more use out of this one this winter. So hopefully having this pulled in my winter palette stash will help with that. Okay, I have 2 palettes from Odin's Eye. One of them I feel like I also could have grabbed the Merry Christmas palette, but the Christmas Eve palette is just giving me more like overall winter feelings. I mean, there's literally snowflakes imprinted into the shadows. This is such a beautiful palette. I love Odin's Eye so much, so I get excited to reach for their palettes really any day. But I'm very excited to reach into like this silvery, like sage, like light pale sage shade. Oh my gosh, this like duochrome, so beautiful. There's so many things that can be done with this palette. There's so many beautiful shimmers, multi-chromes, duochromes in this palette, and I cannot wait to reach into this one. And then I also grabbed for the Jewels and Gem palette. Again, this kind of just gives me like those cool tone winter vibes. I really enjoyed playing around with this past summertime actually when this released, and I feel like it's giving me more even winter vibes. So I will be grabbing for this. Then I also grabbed for the Club Nebula palette from Kaleidos, and I feel like if you like ignore this bottom row, this really gives like that cool toned blue feeling, and it just makes me think of winter. There are some obvious fun pops of color, some fun pops of warmth as well. So for those days when it's like -30, for real, like -30, and you're wanting like some warmth, you can get it from your eyeshadow in this palette. At least that's what I'm telling myself. Then I really need to pull for this winter, because this palette has gotten way too neglected in its lifetime with me, and it's such a beautiful one. This is the Lunar Beauty Eternal Eclipse palette. This is what this palette looks like. So obviously you have your blues, you have like a deep like gray, but like with a little bit of blue, this really beautiful like bluey silver sort of shade. Then you have some more like neutral toned yet still a little cool toned leaning shimmers on the top, and then you have basically like neutral / cool leaning mattes. This should be such a wearable palette, especially as I love reaching for blues more and more lately. Why have I not reached for this? I'm literally putting this like on top of my little makeup drawers, and I better be reaching for this one this winter. Okay, and the 10th palette that I have for like winter, like setting the vibe on the eyes for winter, I have the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette. I had this in my No Pan Left Behind this past, I think it was like February, maybe even January, and it really set the tone for the winter feelings. You know, here in Minnesota, February is like that month that like is really hard to survive, because I feel like it's historically like the coldest of the months, and you're just like really wanting winter to be over. I was reaching for this all the time in February, and it has like the mix of the pinks as well. I think this is fun because it's not so like blues, but you have like purples and pinks. I absolutely love some of the like more special shades in this palette. Cosmic Love, Blissful, Moon Magic. They are just absolutely beautiful. Kind of gives like that iridescent sort of vibe, but they're also like fairly pigmented and fairly opaque, so they really pack a punch. This is such a beautiful palette, so I will definitely be reaching for this one this winter. So those are the 10 winter palettes that I've selected, but holidays, like New Year's Eve, you need something even just a little bit extra for those occasions. So I picked 4 palettes out. Well, I picked 3, and then I realized like Pat McGrath Moonlit Seduction is a great option, so we can talk about that one first. So I have 4 palettes to discuss that I feel like would be perfect for like the super special holiday occasions where you're looking to be like, have the sparkliest eyes. Okay, that's really what I'm getting at. So I have Pat McGrath Moonlit Seduction. I love these sparkles in this palette. I love this blue brown shade. It is so metallic and like molten on the eyes. It's so beautiful. I also love these 2 shades. These Soup Glitters, so beautiful. Like these are gonna pack a punch. You're gonna be glistening. You are gonna be so beautiful. You already are beautiful, but like if you want something super sparkly and beautiful on the eyes, I highly recommend this one. This, I do not go out for New Year's Eve. Haven't in a long time, but if I were to, this might be the palette that I would be reaching for. This is the Adept Cosmetic Minka palette. The shades in here are so creamy. They are like a cream shadow essentially, and they are literally like liquid metal on the eyes in all of the colors offered here. They are so impactful, so punchy. Like if you want something subtle, like run in the complete opposite direction of this palette. But I don't know what else to say other than like, if you want something so metallic on the eyes, this is the palette you're needing to go with. Naturally, I feel like this is a natural selection just because I feel like this is the time of year we do these like gray toned, gray scale smoky eyes. For me, not always my vibe, but if I'm gonna be reaching for this palette, it is gonna be this time of year. So I need to like fully take advantage and use my Natasha Denona Xenon palette. I really do like that she has these like really beautiful midnight blue shades in here. I like blues like on the eye, but like in general, like blue is a color like in life that I really like. So I can really like the shade Cygnus. I don't know how you say that, but like so freaking beautiful. So I will be trying to encourage myself to reach for this holiday season, because I don't feel like it's going to get a lot of use any other time of the year. And then the last palette, I think this is my newest like favorite palette to my collection as of this year. It is from Glam and and it's the Nearly Natural palette. This is such a stunner, and the metallics in this palette are also just so impactful, so beautiful, so shiny, so glittery on the eyes, that if you are looking for a beautiful New Year's Eve palette or just like holiday party where you're looking to just be so sparkly, that you want to look like these sparkly ornaments on the tree in like the best way, this is the palette that I feel like is going to give it to you. I love in this palette that the mattes are also more buildable, and I feel like it just makes for a better blending experience, especially for someone like me who is not the best blender, and I get really lazy and I get really impatient. I love this palette just so much. I know you can't buy this palette any longer, but I believe you can still get like a bundle of the singles, even if you could just get like the sparkly shades. I just highly recommend. Glam is definitely a brand on my radar as like a tippity top fave eyeshadow brand now. So we'll definitely, maybe I will go out on New Year's Eve. Maybe I will make New Year's Eve plans this year. And if so, we're probably doing a mix of these two, to be honest. But that is gonna wrap it up for today's video, you guys. Those are the 10 winter palettes that I am feeling inspired by and really want to focus on throughout the winter season, as well as the 4 holiday palettes that I will be maybe making plans to go use. I would love to know in the comments below, what palettes do you plan to pull out for this season. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to watch today's video and for supporting me and my channel, as you guys always do. I love you guys so much, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye.